started the session.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to our capacity building training for digital citizenship. We'll get started in just a few minutes with the content. So in the meantime, get ready for an interesting and exciting lesson. We'll start in just a few minutes.
Jose, can you please share screen, please?
Yes, Rahul.
Okay, we'll start in just 1 minute.
Great, nice, Jose. Can you please put in a full screen? Yeah, good to go.
Yeah, we are live, Rahul, actually.
Yeah, we are live. We can go ahead.
So Ojasvi, will you run it from your end then?
No, I guess you can go ahead and share the screen.
Yeah. It's gracious. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning as we talk about digital citizenship, or digital Nagrik, as we are calling it now. Thank you so much for taking time out from your busy day to learn this really important and relevant skill. I'm here today with my colleague and friend Harmeet Kaur, who's the working over in Vasant Valley. She's going to be taking part of the training as well. And we're going to get started right away. So first of all, let's talk about why we need digital citizenship. So I think all of you know that the Prime Minister has made Digital India a very important part of his platform and his agenda. Only recently on Independence Day, he was touting the reach and the scope of Digital India and how it is working wonders across the country. It's no longer limited to the large metros. Now we continue to see in smaller and smaller cities and towns how the digital transformation is transforming the lives of the people there. And we want to be a part of that transformation. And so we have worked also to support the NEP, or the National Education Policy, because effective use of education tools using technology, as well as getting students ready for the workforce. So I think we all realize when we look ahead 5 years, 10 years, the kids that are in school today, when they leave school and go into the workforce, digital will be everywhere. And it's important that they learn skills such as digital citizenship to help them navigate that workforce. So my goal today is to help you as teachers understand what digital citizenship is and how you can bring those lessons and those skills to your students. So that's the purpose of being here, and we would love for you to understand better why should we all be digital Nagriks. So first and foremost, India is already the world's largest connected nation. And the data most recently that I saw says that by 2025, which is a mere year and a half from now, there will be almost 900 million internet users in India. And since we're doing this class online, that includes all of us. And it includes all of our students, most likely. The other interesting fact is that kids, probably since the time of COVID, but maybe even pre-COVID, are more and more getting online for all kinds of reasons, whether it's for online classes like this one, whether it's for online gaming, whether it's just to message to their relatives who might be in another city. So being a digital Nagrik is becoming increasingly important as cyber safety is growing concern.
I'm really sorry to interrupt in between,
Yeah.
ma'am. Ma'am, we cannot see the presentation, only we can see you. So can you please reshare
Oh.
your screen once?
Yeah, what's happening there? That's kind of weird. Can you see it?
Yes, now we can see now.
Oh, I'm very sorry about that. Okay, so as I was saying, cybersecurity is an increasing concern. It's a concern for parents, it's a concern for educators, and it's a concern for students. There are all kinds of frauds and scams out there. Cyberbullying has been growing over the years. There are instances where people are being duped out of money. There are instances where people are getting fake messages like I recently got that said your electricity will be turned off because you haven't paid your bill. Please click this link. Please call this number. And so it's important that we all get well educated on what we can do to keep us and to keep our students safe. Fully 71% of the world youth population is already online. And 1 in 3 of those online participants is a child. So whether we like it or not, children are going onto the internet, and that could be children as young as 5 sometimes. I'm sure you've all been out to dinner and seen a child holding a phone watching a YouTube video. So as these digital natives come into the classroom, they need to learn how to keep themselves safe, because it might be more obvious to me and you, but to someone who's just starting out, we need to teach them those skills. That's what this course is all about. Oops. Okay, so as a result of this need that we see, so many users online, so many of them are children, a lot of them are first-time users, we formed this initiative along with Meta, who's our primary sponsor, called Digital Nagrik. And you can access our website at iamdigitalnagrik.com. And all of the tools that you need to know on how to be digitally safe are there online. And we also have a pledge. I'm going to talk to you about the pledge a little bit later on, but we have a pledge, a digital pledge, 5 key tenets of that pledge, that you can take that pledge and affirm to yourself, and you get a little certificate that you can print out and affirm to others that you support being a digital Nagrik. Now, the other great thing about this website is that we also have this website version in Hindi. So you can see this little button up here at the top, and you can click that, and the website and the materials provided are provided in Hindi. So we're really trying to reach across the country as much as we can and spread the message of being a digital Nagrik. Okay, so what is this curriculum that I keep referring to? Well, you will find it on the I Am Digital Nagrik website. And the material that you see today, as we go through these various lessons, is all coming from this Digital Nagrik curriculum. This is sponsored in part not only by Meta, but by the CBSE. So we have developed actually a CBSE skills course. It is a 3-level curriculum, so it's a full, complete course. And what we're going to do today is we're going to show you snippets of that course that can help you take those lessons into your classroom. The interesting part about this course is that we have a lot of real-world scenarios. We try to make it as interactive as possible. So we have role plays with the kids, we have group work, and we have a lot of resources. So we have a student handbook, which you're looking at a picture of right here. We also have a teacher handbook, and we have classroom resources. And I'm going to show you these right here. So this right here is a snapshot of the teacher handbook. And you can see, first of all, it's brightly colored. We have QR codes, so anytime we're sharing a video or maybe a worksheet, it can be accessed at home through the use of the QR code. We also have notes for teachers. So all this gray area are the guide for you. And why is that important? Well, because we want teachers of any subject to take Digital Nagrik into their classroom. So what's the most important thing about this course? It was developed by teachers for teachers. So we have a group of teachers. We have looked around the world for all what we feel are the best teaching methodologies, whether it's a video, whether it's a worksheet, whether it's just thoughts on the topic that we have curated and we are bringing to you. And as I was saying, it doesn't matter if you're a history teacher, it doesn't matter if you're a physics teacher or an English teacher. We have tried to make this coursework as easy to understand as possible so that you can bring it into your classroom. And if you're an English teacher, you can talk to students about, you know, how to cite their sources, which is part of being a Digital Nagrik, or how to make sure they're not just copying and pasting and putting it into the essay that they're sending you at the end of the day. So we try to make it something that you feel is relevant to your life, and you can extend that relevance to the students in your classroom, regardless of the topic that you teach. Now, in our coursework, we have 7 basic tenets of digital citizenship, and our course goes through each of these. Today, I'm going to take you through 5 of these, and we're going to talk about these one lesson at a time so that you can better understand what we're saying, what we mean when we say, you know, what does cybersecurity really entail? So let's start at the beginning, which is, if we say we want to be digital citizens, what does that mean? Who is a digital citizen? Well, according to the dictionary, a digital citizen is someone who has the skills, who has the knowledge to effectively use the internet and participates responsibly in social and civic activities online. Now, we all will look at that and say, oh, of course, that's me. But there are a lot of aspects of digital citizenship that we may not be aware of. And so we're going to start with a small self-assessment. So take out your pen, take out your paper, because I'm going to ask you a series of questions to gauge how much of a Digital Nagrik you already are, or how Digital Nagrik skills can, you know, you can brush up on, or you can introduce them into your repertoire. So I'm going to start with the first question. Now, by the way, you'll see that 1 is the best score. So in this particular quiz, you're trying to get a low score. You're not trying to get a high score. And my first question is, it's not a question actually, it's a statement that says, I have never used a simple password like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And give yourself 1 point if you have never used a password like that. But if that is your password, or if your password is 654321, you better give yourself a 3. The next one is talking about social media. And the question there is, do you check your social media followers or friends and remove people that you don't know or you barely know? Sometimes people, you meet them once at a conference and they want to join your social media, and after a while you're like, I can't remember who this person is. So if you go through and you reduce the number of people or remove the people that you don't know well from your social media, you can give yourself a 1. If you have never done that, give yourself a 3, and then give yourself a homework assignment to get that done over the weekend. And question number 3 is, I always ask others permission to post their photo on social media. And we're going to talk a little bit later about why this is important. But if you always ask someone before you post their photo, give yourself a 1. And if you don't, you just post the photos from that great night that you had when you all went out for kebabs, but you didn't ask them if it was okay, you can give yourself a 3. Okay, the next question is, I keep my phone and PC software up to date. Now, the good thing is most of the time you're prompted to update your software. The question is, if you click yes and do it, give yourself a 1. If you delay it, say, oh gosh, can't do it right now, then give yourself a 3 if you forget to update. Are you always careful when a link is sent to you? And we're going to talk about this in some level of detail. But if you're always careful when you click on links, or rather don't click on links, give yourself a 1. If you are in a rush sometimes and you accidentally click that link and then you're like, oh gosh, where did this link come from? You can give yourself a 3. And then the last one is about changing passwords. So if you change your passwords regularly, give yourself a 1. Many of us change them when we are prompted to do so. Like a bank might require you to update your password every 6 months. You can give yourself a 2. But if you have never updated your password, we have a lesson about that in here for you this morning. So here's your scoring. And if you have a score of 8 or below, you're doing a great job. If you have a score of 9 for 14, there are definitely some lessons that you can take away from the material that we're going to go through. And if you have a score of 15 or above, sit up and let's take some notes, because I want you to feel more safe and secure by the end of this session. So I'm going to start now with digital etiquette, which is the foundation of digital citizenship. So let's start by having this discussion. What does etiquette mean to you? To me, etiquette is things that you learn how to behave in society. You say please, or you say thank you. In a business meeting, or in a classroom, do you know how to act appropriately? These are all things that are broadly termed as etiquette. So the question becomes, when you go online, is there a code or an etiquette for the digital world? And indeed there is, and that one is particularly called netiquette, or sometimes also called digital etiquette. So it's that same set of rules of, like please or thank you, or how do you greet someone, except it's in the digital world. And this, I think, is where a lot of people get tripped up, because there are plenty of examples online, especially if you go to message boards, where people don't act with decorum or kindness, and there's a lot of unruly behavior. So this is why I always like to start with digital etiquette, and especially for children, because we're teaching them things like, how do you act on the playground, or how do you act at the lunch table? We should also be talking to them about how do you act online. Now, there's a series of questions that you can ask yourself when you're about to post something online, or when you're about to forward that email. And it all comes down to, having empathy. So if the person that you are posting about would feel rotten if you said something, or if you feel emboldened to say something online, but if they were sitting across from you, you wouldn't say something, or you wouldn't say those things to them. If you think it will hurt their reputation, like, will this endanger them getting into a college? Will this endanger them in the workplace in some way? All of these are questions that you should be asking yourself. How would I feel when I'm writing something potentially mean or damaging? If that was written about me, would I feel good? And lastly, would I want my friends, my parents, my teachers, my peers to read something like this about me, or even think that I wrote this myself? All of these are questions that students should be asking themselves before they post something online. And the tip that I like to use is the grandma test. So if your grandmother saw what you had posted, would she feel proud of you, or would she want to take you by the ear and say, hey, we need to have a talk? And that's the kind of thing that we need to reinforce with kids, that, you know, you should be thinking long-term about the kind of reputation that you want to have in the online world. So what are things that kids, or all of us, should not be posting or sharing? And, you know, there are things like inappropriate messages, images, right? People are feeling more and more free to share crazy images online. That's probably not appropriate. Saying or doing something to someone that you wouldn't do face to face. And then, as I mentioned before, posting images without other people's consent. Maybe they don't like that image. Maybe they don't want people to know where they're going, those kinds of things. So these are all the kinds of things that you should be thinking about when you go to post online. Is it something that's true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And lastly, is it kind? If we can all inculcate this idea of proper behavior, kind behavior when we go online, the digital etiquette will take care of itself. So that's what I want to share with you about digital etiquette. I'm going to turn my attention now to digital footprints, which is, in a way, the next pass of digital etiquette. So let's start by looking at some footprints. And you see all these footprints here. Ojaswi, if the Q&A is open, we can have people talk about what kind of footprints they're seeing here between 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's get some, let me open this up. And let's get some ideas about whose footprint or what footprints we're seeing here. What do you think? 2, I know you know 1, but what about 2? What about 3? And what about 4? What kind of footprints are you seeing? And more importantly, what do these footprints tell you? Because there's a lot you can learn just from looking at some footprints in the sand like we've done here. Any ideas? Any discussions? Oh. Okay, so these are obviously a cat, a big cat, like a tiger, an elephant footprint, and a bird footprint. And most footprints, especially ones like this, show you where people or animals are going and where they have been. And the same is true of a digital footprint. So a digital footprint is simply a record of all the places that you have been online. It's like you are stepping on that sand and leaving your footprint as you go online. This may include things like online searching, messaging apps, video games, delivery apps, locational data, social media, etc. All of these places that you are going online are part of your digital footprint. And keeping in mind that once something is posted online, it's almost impossible to remove all traces because somebody somewhere may have taken a screenshot, even if you later pull it down. And the importance of this, and especially for students, is social media is becoming increasingly important in school applications, in employment applications. Many employers are looking at social media profiles and wondering if this particular person and how they present themselves online is the right candidate for their organization. I have seen many stories of kids whose applications to university got rescinded because maybe they said something online or did something online. There was a case of a cricketer on the English cricket team who, after having his debut and playing really well, was actually pulled from the team and put on probation because somebody found some tweets that he had done like 5 years prior that were really inappropriate. So these kinds of things matter, and this is called your digital footprint. So the secret of your digital life is in the data. As you know, when you go out and you're using a map application, you're using a delivery application to get something sent to you, it's all there on your phone. And so the things that you publish when your location is on, and all of these things, particularly for children, in order to keep them safe, are things that we should consider. What kind of settings do we want to have? So I'm going to show you an example of a social media post. This is through a messaging app. And here's a post that was sent to many different WhatsApp groups. So what I would like to know is, what kind of information is this particular person sharing, either knowingly or unknowingly, by posting this photo and this quote here? So let me know in the comments what you think this person is sharing, what kind of footprint this person is leaving. Can just type it in.
Great. Nice, Irene. Meantime, we have a couple of questions if you want to take it up.
I would love to.
Great. So the first question we have, what is Digital Nagrik course?
So the Digital Nagrik course is a CBSE based curriculum that you can find at the I Am Digital Nagrik website. And it goes through all of these topics and lessons that we're reviewing here today. It's designed for students in mind, and it's designed for teachers to take these lessons to the students.
Great. The another question we have from Shailendraji says, asking, what should be the time duration to change the password?
Okay, we're going to talk about passwords in just a little bit. Actually, oftentimes, if we are keeping a strong password and we're keeping it in a password manager, you know, you can keep your password for a relatively longer duration, 6 months, 1 year, that kind of a thing, unless you're prompted. Like I said, certain apps may prompt you to change your password more frequently. But if you're keeping it safe and you have a really strong password, you don't need to change it, like, let's say, every 3 months. That's a little bit too much. Plus, you can't remember it all the time.
Great. Thanks, Irene. So we have a couple of comments as we ask question is, Poojaji says it's students playing, friends playing holy.
Yeah, absolutely.
MBA, MCOM Education Institute. And almost answer we have her location, her friend, she's a friendly, she loves social celebrations.
Exactly. So she revealed through one photo a lot of information. As people have pointed out, what she's studying, where she is. I mean, it's a little hard to see here, but if you zoom in on that, it says she's at Pondicherry University. I can see what kind of a phone she has. I can potentially also track her friends. So if I take this photo, I can probably figure out who some of these friends are, even if their faces are covered in color. And so it even in a simple photo, sometimes you're giving off more information than you realize you're giving off. And that's the concern when it comes to social media, because there's something called a perceived versus an actual audience size. And this was a research project that was done by Facebook and Stanford. And what they found out was actually the audience that is seeing your post is much, much larger than you think. Because if you notice, every time you have a friend, let's say you tag a friend, and then that particular photo shows up on their feed, and then those people make comments, then the comments get seen by other people. And at the end of the day, your perceived audience could actually be your actual audience could actually be much, much larger, up to 4 times larger than what you think. You think, oh, I have 200 friends. They're the ones who will see my post. Well, no, by the time the friends that you've posted and it gets liked and commented and potentially shared, your actual audience could be much, much larger, which is why understanding and managing your digital footprint is so important, because sometimes it's people you have no idea who they are, and yet they're seeing things about your life. And maybe it's unwise to let people know that you go to Pondicherry University or what your course of study is. So I have an activity for you. I would love for you to take your phone and go to your search bar and type myactivity.google.com, assuming you're logged into your Google account. And if you check, I've put a screenshot of my activity from when I was putting this presentation together, that you can see all the things that you have searched. You can see all kinds of activity, any web activity, and this is all being stored there from Google. So it's important to know, like, hey, are my activities being stored? Are they not being stored? And you can check your settings to auto delete or to keep this activity only for a short period of time, these kinds of things. On the one hand, it's great because it speeds up when you again go back and you search, India's G20 presidency, the same websites will come back. But sometimes it's a little startling to see how long that list and how much of the activity, and maybe you were actually Googling something silly, and you're like, oh, why would I want to be reminded that I was doing this? So do this activity, check what you are being tracked, and adjust your settings accordingly. Okay, I'm going to turn this over now to my colleague Harmeet. Let me see if I can bring her on here. And how can I undo myself here? There we go. How do I do this? Maybe I just turn off my camera. That might be easy. Hold on, let me, Rahul, can you help me move her to the, oh, send live. There we go.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Irene, yeah, thank you.
Yes.
So, good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a very pleasant day of learning with the team. And myself, I'm Harmeet. I'm working as a tech educator at Vasant Valley School, New Delhi. And I'm very honored to be a part of this presentation that we are sharing at this platform. So I understand the hassle that all of us as teachers face sometimes when children come up to us and they try to share their own situations, the experiences that they go through. Sometimes they always come up to us and asking, what can we do? This has happened, or we know about stuff which is happening around us. We know of people who are getting affected by this kind of scenario. So keeping in mind in those, this particular curriculum empowers every teacher with certain skills, certain tools, certain situations, how to be handled. They can be discussed. And, every teacher in nowadays is, as per the new curriculum framework also, every teacher is a digital teacher. Every teacher is using pedagogies which are infused with either AI or with digital tools that we are using on an everyday basis. So keeping in mind, the more the digital platforms are getting introduced, more the information is coming around. We need to empower our children, and before we empower them, we need to be empowered enough. We need to be understanding that what is this particular definition mean? What does, if somebody is asking us about the definition, like for that, for a bullying, if it's cyberbullying. So we need to be empowered with all kind of information and strategies, and how we can infuse these in our pedagogies inside our classroom, so that our teachers, our students, they are further, empowered with the whole information. So when we talk about a bullying situation, generally, in schools, children do fight with each other. Sometimes it takes it on a different tangent altogether, when you're physically giving a harm, or coercing somebody who's particularly vulnerable. And this is a situation where we have things in place. There are policies in place in all the schools, and the children can otherwise also, have different life situations where parents intervene and take charge of a situation. But sometimes when we are in a situation where we are getting bullied online. What is bullying online? Now, this, it does not mean that you're getting. I need to just go to the previous slide. Yeah. So bullying, basically, when it is happening online, it is happening using technology, and the targets are intentionally targeted based on social media for harmful purposes. People are impersonating somebody else. That's like. See, there are no faces available online. If you're getting harassed because of that, then there are no faces for the people who are harassing you. Then it could be anything. Cyberbullying could be anything in the form of messages, stalking online, impersonation of different people. It does cause emotional issues, distress, isolation, and it affects not only the students, it affects all ages. And there are certain legal measures which are also available. So talking about, the difference between the both, then students and teachers, what do we do? Bullying, definitely we can say, is happening again, as I said, in physical setting. And it includes different situations, like getting verbal taunts or social exclusion is happening. It's happening in the real world, with real world visible consequences. And for the cyberbullying, it can happen at any time, given a 24/7 scenario, when most of the people are available online every single minute. Trust me, when we started using Facebook, it was like, there was a very famous meme that I had seen, that it's going to Facebook every 10 minutes is like opening the fridge. We know there is nothing new inside, but we still go ahead and open it to see what is happening around. We just need to be updated. This need and want to have information this craving is enough. Sometimes it just takes to a different tangent. And this is when the anonymous people are affecting the victims. So when the victims do not feel safe online, or they become victims because of certain online environments they have landed themselves, they are in the dark web scenarios, their identities have been stolen, and they have landed into scenarios where it is different. What do we do in that situation? So there are many people in the case of when situations are happening. The first one definitely is the bully who's harassing the victim. He's the aggressor. Then there is another person who's getting affected emotionally, physically, and all the situations that we're looking at. That person is called as the victim. Now there are two more personalities in this situation. One is a bystander and an upstander. In a physical situation, somebody is just standing around an accident site, not taking any initiative, that would be a bystander. Who would be an upstander? Who would actually call the police and call the hospital, get the situation done. Similarly, in place of a physical scenario, when we have in the online scenario, the bystander would be somebody who is just watching. Okay, this person is getting bullied. To see there are memes and there are getting generated. The person is getting socially harassed, and a lot of comments are coming on social media. But an upstander would be somebody who would reach out to that person, or would actually, try out to create a situation by means of which positive intervention would somehow cause this cyberbullying getting stopped, making steps. So if you see a fellow teacher getting bullied, or if you see a student getting bullied, or if you see in general anybody getting bullied online, and you take up a step for it, you are an upstander. But if you just stand on the side and you just look at it and just pass the news on forward, like a WhatsApp forward or anything, you're just a bystander. You're not doing anything about it. So let's do a checking over here. Let's just first of all see a small video on how you can be an upstander. Irene, could you play the video, please?
1 in 5 children in the United States experience bullying, where a peer harasses, humiliates, or threatens repeatedly. Bullying can have negative psychological, physical, and academic effects. It can contribute to depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, and it can be isolating. Most kids are not directly involved in bullying. They are a witness or a bystander to bullying. Sometimes bystanders get roped into reinforcing the bullying. This can make the situation worse and more traumatic. However, if a bystander becomes an upstander, then something really cool happens. When bystanders to bullying intervene, bullying stops within 10 seconds 57% of the time. Think about it, if bystanders became upstanders every time there was a bullying incident, more than half of all kids would be spared a prolonged harmful experience, and they would feel the support of a peer. Kids with strong leadership qualities and who are self-assured are more likely to be on the defender role, so you are really like a peer superhero when you become an upstander. There are a number of ways you can shift the negative focus of bullying. Change the subject, interrupt, question behavior, use humor to lighten up a serious situation, embrace your differences, report bullying and block cyberbullying, protect others and show kindness and empathy, and include others in what you are doing. Every time you stand up and stick up for others, you are making a positive difference and helping a peer who may really need a friend. To learn more about bullying prevention, visit stopbullying.gov.
Thanks, Irene. Could you go to the next slide, please? So when we look at being an upstander, when we say changing subjects, trying to motivate the comment series into a different direction, try to interrupt the situation by taking the side of the victim, questioning the behavior of people who are reposting or doing some comments, which could actually cause a lot of aggravation to emotional state of a person who's getting victimized. Try to use humor, even if it is a situation which is completely getting out of hand. Still trying to bringing in the humor a little bit would probably soften the blow. Then embracing the differences. Sometimes it's just happening to the diversity that is around students of or children or people of other age groups who belong to either different diverse countries, geographical locations, race, any or gender particularly. Then it is becoming something that is getting out of hand and can actually affect the mental health or the physical health of a person. It's very important to report the cyberbullying. We will talk about cyberbullying and how you can report it into in a few coming up slides. Most importantly, we have to be empathetic. We cannot not be empathetic and not involve the others. So we are now going to read out a scenario over here where Ria is a friend of yours. Let's assume Ria is a friend of yours, and she has dropped her phone by a drinking fountain or a water stand in your school football field. Now, someone just found this particular phone, picked up the phone, and sent out messages to her friend Anushka, and sent about Anushka to everybody else, something mean about it. So everybody will assume that Ria has said mean things about Anushka. Now, after doing this person just goes back and puts down the phone next to the water stand. Ria goes around looking for the phone, finds her home. But after a certain time, Anushka comes and confronts Ria and says that, I have been receiving messages from people that you have sent out me this particular information, which is completely false about me. Why did you do it? So Ria tries to tell Anushka that she was not the one, but nobody believes her. So no one really knows who sent the message. But now let's take up a scenario and let's see your reactions, whether would you want to be an upstander or a bystander. So we'll talk about these reactions one by one, and it would be great if you could, Irene, could you open the Q&A for this? We can actually see people talking about it and giving out, right? So
Yeah, we're
scenario
ready.
one reaction. So scenario one reaction would be, you feel sad for Ria, but do nothing because no one knows who sent the messages. So what would you do in such a situation? Would you be an upstander or a bystander? Let's see a flow of coming in very quickly, simultaneously. Let's see what's happening. Okay. Okay. I am waiting for people's reaction to come in the Q&A. Okay. Would you, am I not able to see it, or people, would you please just want to write down what kind of a reaction would you give to this situation? An upstander or a bystander? Just write down the word upstander or bystander for the first reaction. Okay. Okay. I don't see many responses. So in this scenario, when you're feeling sad for Ria but can do nothing because no one knows who said about it, so you would just be a bystander. You cannot do anything about this, right? Let's talk about the second scenario. So you go and find Anushka and ask her how she feels and whether you can help. So who would you be, an upstander or a bystander? Are you just standing on the side or you're actually taking action for it? You're an upstander. Thank you, Bhumika. That's a very good participation. Right. So you be kind to others. Let's talk about the third scenario where you spread the drama. What is the reaction to this? Would you be an upstander or bystander? Where you're spreading the drama by sharing the mean message with other friends. Who are you? An upstander or a bystander? Okay, let's see reactions coming. You're a bystander. Okay, let's see other people, bystander. Yes, that's the correct way of identifying. Second, another scenario is when you help Priya to get everybody on the football team to post compliments about Anushka. Who would you be? Remember, you're bringing in the humor, you're bringing in the change of scenario, bringing in the change of communication that is going around. You're an upstander. Wonderful. Pravita, it would not be a bystander because you're actually doing something about it, right? So it is a positive thing that you're doing about it. So you're an upstander. Reporting the incident to your principal, inquiring if she can help, and ask her to ensure that all students learn about good phone security and locking their phones. Who would you be? An upstander. So it's wonderful to understand upstander. Okay, we are getting some bystanders, we're getting some upstanders. So let's reveal, Irene, who would that be? An upstander or a bystander? Irene, could you press and enter? Yes, because you're reporting it. That is, you are an upstander. You cannot be a bystander in this scenario because you're actually taking an action about it. You're trying to do something about it. So you're helping out the people. So this is where all the scenarios, information, so you can now evaluate your reactions and you can actually see that when you look at the reactions that are happening, what is the cost and the call that you are going to take in a scenario like that. Are you going to help the person, be kind about it, report it, or you're just going to go for the next one? Let's go to the next one. So what do you do when you're a cyberbullying victim? And if you are the victim, what can you do? So there are certain situations that you can take into call on your own hands. If you realize that you're being cyberbullied, then what can you do as a victim? Of course, you should be, first of all, blocking that particular entity all in all in any social media. Or in fact, you could take a social media detox for a few days. Do not ever respond or even read the messages which can bring down your emotional quotient and can affect you mentally. Do not do that. Most importantly, in such a situation, the best thing is that if the victim is actually reaching out to family members, friends, teachers, any adult, if it's a student or a child of a younger age, and print out the messages as an evidence, and then can be utilized to report it in the cyber cell divisions. Do not further pass on the cyberbully's messages because then this only further aggravates the situation for the victim. Most importantly, you have to enlist with the help of your friends by asking them to not to further forward it because it only boosts the ego of the bully. And then if you're doing this particular situation, you're only standing up against the bully. But also, what you should not do. What you should not do is not get angry about it and seek revenge on the bully. Start doing the same thing to that person that what that person has done to you. Avoid friends and activities, just go into an isolation. Cyberbullying them back or cyberbullying someone else is not the solution. Just because you got cyberbullied and you go ahead and further do the same to somebody or to the same person itself, you will also actually land up in the same kind of a legal mess that you have landed the other person. So you have to be the sensible one over here and take an upstand on it. So very importantly, the next step is going to help you understand how we can from this particular section of the curriculum is focusing on making the students aware about the bullying, how it is happening, the measures, and what you should do if there are situations that are costing you your mental health situation or any emotional quotient is getting affected and anybody's other well-being is also getting affected. Most importantly, at this point of time, if you've been on social media and others for a very long time, it's time to now talk about another section of the curriculum, which is called digital well-being. Now, the main question comes in is what is this digital well-being? I read to the next screen, please. So As we have just talked about, we did talk about that digital wellness is about creating a balance between the online and offline world. And as Arun had just initially said about, there's a perceived audience and there's an actual audience, right? Similarly, we also need to maintain a balance in our happy and healthy lives. Most important aspects is to having a controlled use of technology. You need to be very, very strong about the fact that you are able to manage your screen time, the emotional well-being, the physical health. If you are always onto your computer, eyes get affected, the posture gets affected, the physical, biological systems get affected. The most important part is the privacy and the security of the person. If you're on many social media accounts or any other places which are available digital, doing shopping and everything, and just secluded in your own house, these are not COVID times anymore. You can actually switch off the phone, put down your laptop, put down the lid of your laptop, and actually go out, have physical activities, have most importantly healthy habit life, healthy sleep habits. That's very important. And most importantly, one section that I will be talking about later is the media literacy. The information literacy is also very important aspect that we're looking at when we're talking about digital wellness. In two simple lines, maintaining the balance between the physical world and the digital virtual world. So for the digital native, it's very important if you're taking too much time on screen. As already mentioned earlier, also it makes it hard, very, because it's affecting your brain at all the time. You get anxiety or you get depression if you're not validated by your presence, by your activities online. Not everybody on Instagram or on Indian social media who seems to be happy is happy all the time. Those are just simple gestures or simple snapshots of some good times in there. Nobody posts pictures of when they are very sad or depressed or going on certain situations. So try and understand that this is not the only life that is there. And this is what we have to teach our children also. Don't get angered by situations, by emotions of news posts that you see over there. It, of course, makes you feel very less energetic, which is also very important, that you have to make sure that your screen time is minimal. Putting yourself at the risk of mindless eating while you're watching some reels or videos online leads to what? Physical gain, obesity. So we have to make sure that too much of screen time is not happening. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay. Now let's have a conversation regarding, what is your screen time? So you just went ahead and looked at the digital wellness part. Now, if you have a smartphone or a smart phone or a smart device or a some smart watches you're wearing, it definitely sends those prompts out, those things, where can you estimate what your average screen time could be, or what are you doing most when you're going into this? You don't, do you know? So these are the certain prompts that, we would want to open the Q&A for ideas coming from you, just to see, like, your daily activities, how you're going about it. It would be great. Could we open the Q&A for like another minute to see if we can get some responses here? Okay, so pick up any particular prompt over here. What do you estimate your average screen time is? What are you doing most of the time when you're online? When you are doing this at night time, in the morning, or during school or your work hours, or when you're free, just sitting, having a stroll. It would be great to have an insight on something. Okay, so screen time is around 7 hours. Let's try to estimate how you're spending your screen time. So people, can you just share what you are on any of the prompts? Okay, 7 hours is pretty much. Okay. Any other person would like to share what kind of screen time they are doing and what do they do? Does it disrupt their work or sleep patterns? I think people are being very secretive. They don't want to actually share that what they do when they're online. Well, I like to peruse through, I'll give my own example. I like to peruse through my social media just to see regular news items most of the times. And okay, it's sad. Very good. Us being technology teachers, I know our screen time is much more as compared to the others, right? Okay, screen time is, so on a general, if you're having the 6 to 7 hours of screen time, you need to rest your eyes a little bit at every given point of time. Make sure that you're not doing too much, but the question comes on is how much is too much. So let's go online and see. So open your cell phone. Let's do a small activity. Everybody open your cell phone. If you feel like sharing, please go ahead and share in Q&A. If not, this is just for you. Just go to the settings and you will actually see this digital well-being or screen time option is there. Every smartphone now that is there available, this particular option is there. So check your screen time in total, take 30 seconds and see which apps are you using the most, So So most importantly, if you look in the image also over here, you will actually see how much time are you spending on each particular app. You can also set the goal, because what happens is it sends you reminders and pointers. Like, this is now it's a time, it's a life mode is there, the work mode is there. Like for my own phone, I picked up the work mode in the life mode timeline. So when it goes to time, and when it says now the life mode, I use my cell phone only for exercising and going around. So it is calculating my steps. I'm still online, but I am still not online in a way I would actually be using my actual eyes to do this particular job or getting 100% engaged with it. So we actually have this option available in most of the Androids and the iOS phones. So please make sure that when you see the graphs for today, at least as an activity that you would probably teach your children also, make sure that you are setting up goals for it and you're reducing your screen time and usage time. Okay, so most importantly now, let's just round up this particular conversation and see what is it that we are looking at. So how can you change your, particular activities that you just saw? Like, in which particular section would you want to place your regular activities? You need to make ensure that, you have to tell the children, you have to tell the students, you have to make sure when these activities are done with a particular device in their hand inside the classroom, or general mind maps are being used for creating and, segregating the activities in particular thing. The boundaries for the screen time need to be done. Prioritizing, in-person interaction is very important. We need to create those, tech-free zones at home. Like, you cannot have a device, you cannot have a cell phone on the dinner table. But the conversations within the family are happening, they cannot happen. It's very important to go on a scheduled, regular digital break, right? When you're having lunch, please do not look at the do not look at the screen. Just focus on your food. It's very tasty. Trust me, your family members will get very good. It's very important when you practice mindfulness with tech use. It's very important that you minimize your non-essential notifications. You don't need to look at every WhatsApp notification. You don't need to look in every email at the same particular time it comes in. Most importantly, avoid screens before bedtime. You need to assess the value of the digital apps that you're using, the platform you're using, and regularly declutter digital files. Because the more the heavier your system becomes, or your device becomes, it becomes very difficult for the system to also work regularly. So make sure that you're embracing these habits and putting up a proper balance of the offline and the online world that you survive in. Another aspect of this particular curriculum talks about not only about cyber safety, cyberbullying, or about digital well-being. It also talks about cyber safety. Now, we did talk about when bullying is happening. What does bullying mean? How you can be a part of people who are helping to stop it. What does it mean on an individual person? How you can reduce it. The most important part when we talk about cyber safety, it is the state of being protected against the criminal. Very important. It talks about the possibilities of you not getting attacked or victimized. So it protects you against the theft, the damage, and unauthorized access to your digital assets. It's very important that it ensures your confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the information that is over there. Not only does it involve measures like having firewalls, encryptions, and authentication, it also addresses threats like like viruses, malware, hacking, and social engineering. It's very important that we are aware of these particular conversations. And most importantly, it is essential when we're prescribing or we're having conversations in our classrooms about cybersecurity. We are teaching them about what is essential for safeguarding personal and business data in the digital age, wherever they are using it. So let's look at one particular activity. This is a very fun activity that we do we do with our students in our classroom. There is a list that is given in Top India 2022. You'll be actually funny to see that there are top 20 passwords that are given over here are like password 12346, QWERTY, India, and in fact the most important, the funny one is the password. Password is password, or India at 123. Sometimes we feel that it's easier just to remember it, but it's an app. What effort? What can I be doing? What kind of a loss can I have if I'm just having a milk delivery app, which is just going to use a password of my dog's name or my name or my address, something like that. It is difficult because as Irene also earlier mentioned, when the digital footprints were being discussed, that your IP address and your physical locations are all getting leaked out The moment it is up out there on a particular portal where some kind of delivery, some kind of digital access is happening, we need to be very mindful of what kind of a password we are doing. There is this one technique that is given to you in the next slide. It's very important that we give it a try. Just look at the steps. It's like very interesting activity that you can try. This is just one of the ways you can make sure that it's a strong password. Could you reveal it? Yes. So step one would be, write down, for example, if there's a phrase or a story or a storyline which is very close to your heart, like, I say, never give up. Right. So I definitely believe very strongly in that statement. So a line from a movie or a song or a movie, phrase that you can remember, something that is there, you pick up that particular line. Step two would be, like, for example, it talks about over here, I have two pets, the cat is Milo and the dog is Otis. Okay, so this next step. So we take the first letter of each word to make your own password, including the capitalization. So over here, if you see the password that has been picked up is I is capital, have, H is there, then two pets, two is there, T is there, and then P is there. Then go to the next sentence where it is the cat is Milo and the dog is Otis. The first alphabet of every single word in this has been picked up, and you have generated a password over here. You can also go ahead and add letters and numbers to it. You can change certain characters, and most importantly, like over here, you will see that we have replaced A with an ampersand sign. It's always better that we do that, some kind of thing. You can also add a symbol, at the end for an extra length or complexity, something like that. You can have a hash at the end, you can have an underscore at the end, you can have 1, 2, 3, 4 at the end. So look at the password that we created, something that was a statement close to my heart, or by something that I use very casually. I've just used that to remember my whole concept. Could you go to the next step, please? So what are the safety measures that need to be taken over here when we're talking about cyber safety? It's very important, like when we're talking about strong passwords, it's also important to have, two-factor notification. When we carry any digital device, we have to be making sure you are aware of its position, keep it secure. Like you just carry a laptop around and don't just leave it around like that. Or just like the previous scenario we talked about, one kid just leaving the phone by mistake near the fountain and then somebody finding it out and sending out unsolicited messages out of it. It's very important we do not share our personal information. It is very, very important. So these two particular safety measures, what are the actions that we need to take to ensure the physical safety? We need to make sure that our devices are kept secure. We do data encryption. We need to have safe browsing habits. Let's say we talk about browsing through the database or browsing through the internet using a safe browser, do our banking through a safe internet browser. We are awareness and education. These are the only two things which can help you save yourself and you teaching your children how to be safe themselves. Regular backups are very important if we are taking some kind of data. We need to be making sure that we have a certain, as a family, as a teacher, we need to be very sure what are the next steps. Like we have those disaster management activities in our school, like what to do when fire happens, what to do when earthquake happens. Similarly, we need to be very, very clear about what needs to happen. The children need to have a plan with them. They need to know what if it happens. They should not just sit at home and not being just put into a shell. They need to voice it out. They need to know that what is it that they need to have. It's very important, the teachers, the students are talking about that. So not only is the physical security important, another important factor is to talk about the phishing, which is the identity theft, which relies on individuals' identity getting stolen. Fraudulent attempts are made to obtain sensitive information, by impersonating themselves as trustworthy entities, whether it is a whether it's a game portal, and often through emails. And what happens is through phone or text messages, children or anybody else, they receive, they're getting deceived by individuals in revealing their confidential data. So this particular possibility of using identity theft or a financial fraud when they're trying to purchase something, or just like a membership they're trying to do for a game that they are playing, or some kind of a social media portal that they are going for, that needs to be done. Such malicious purposes come under the category of phishing. So it's very important that they know about it. Certain examples you will see over here are, or talking about, if you see over here, there's a cyberspace given, fraudsters, they will pose as employees of power companies, and you get bulk messages. So even if you do a DND, do not disturb option on your phone, sometimes it's still see through. But if you look at the next option, you give second screenshot here you are being talked about is like, people generally, fear the authorities who are, going to give them some kind of penalty. They do not pay the income tax or something is still pending on their end. And they would know the last 4 digits of your account number, your credit card number, your income tax number, they would be knowing it. Your Aadhaar card number, they will be calling it. So next it also says that be careful, this is a bank fraud. So please make sure that even if they might even try to warn you that this kind of a message you might receive, please be there. But still they would give, and if they will say if you want to be sure about it, click on the link. We even have so many web series out there where we are getting such kind of scenarios shared with us. You will also look at the last scenario where you're talking about SMS of pending KYCs are there. Every single portal, every single banking organization, or anything which is related to finances, online, offline, they will never ask you to share your personal information, your PIN numbers. You have to be the receive and never ever click on links on these messages. If you still are aware, if you still get a little worried, it's always better to either call the customer care, ask them on the numbers that are provided on the bank websites, or you should be actually opening the mobile apps for the online banking and check this and do the necessary as required. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so here's a very short story about Mehek. You could just look into it and then we'll have a conversation regarding it. Ma'am, could you please play it?
Hi, my name is Mehak. This is my story on how I saved myself from phishing. I am a first year graduation student. I have done my schooling in a couple of government schools, and I think I can proudly say that it has been great. Coming back to what happened, so I received a message one day on my WhatsApp number saying that the state government is distributing free laptops, and all I had to do was simply fill up a form using the link given in the message. My first thought was, okay, that's fishy. This is not how the state runs its welfare schemes. If this was true, this should have come directly from my college and not a random WhatsApp message. So, like the woke citizen I am, I decided to do the right thing. I raised the red flags and reported the incident to the appropriate authorities and organizations, one of which was the Cyber Peace Foundation. It's really sad. Most of the kids, they don't know what's legit and what's not. As a result, they fall prey to these hackers and suffer. What I did was I reported the incident to the Cyber Peace team and shared all the details with them. They told me not to click on the link, which I already knew. Duh. And informed me that these phishing scams are executed to steal crucial data like Aadhaar card, PAN card, and even bank account details. It's horrifying, really. They also guided me to file a complaint at cybercrime.gov.in and not to forward such messages further to anyone. They are really cool folks. Firstly, be aware of what's happening in the world. We are constantly developing and hence are now even more vulnerable to cyber attacks like phishing. God forbid, if you fall prey to this cybercrime, know that there are authorities and organizations to help you. Get in touch with them immediately and they will definitely help you.
Okay. Just as we saw one situation where this kid has actually gone ahead and shared what should be done, and in case of situation when there are people who are affected by it, if they have that awareness of it and they know the knowledge of what they need to do, that happens. So what are the top cyber threats that are happening to the Indian teams? Cyber grooming, cyberbullying, and most importantly, most of the students, most of the children who are uh, on all the times are on the online gaming portals, the email frauds that are happening, the links that are coming. So as was mentioned in the one scenario was mentioned where the state government was sending out the laptops, free welfare laptops, so it's under some free welfare scheme that was mentioned over there. So the student was very much aware about what could be going wrong if she's clicking on that link. She did try to reach out to the authorities, but then again, they gave the information what was right, what was not wrong. So it does help to be having a little awareness about the kind of threats that are here. So we did talk about a few of them. Can we go to the next one, please? So it's just not about knowing what the problem is, and we also need to know what to do if you are having a scenario and what kind of legitimate legal action can be taken. So in India specifically, if we talk about, there is an Indian Penal Code under, and just to a few years ago, just until a few years ago, we did not even have certain legitimate legal actions that could be given because there was very less technology awareness that was there with even the authorities. With the people leave aside, with authorities also, that was a challenge. Many cases just went untold. Many stories were were put under the wraps. Many situations were getting affected. But ever since the whole concept of digital Nagrik has emerged, the concept of digital India has emerged, the inclusion of technology has been there. The discussion about the financial frauds, online cheating, forgery, obscenity, cyber stalking, sexual harassment, voyeurism, and of course, criminal intimidation has been going on such a high rise that it's time that everybody pulls up their socks and be aware of the options which are available in the legal actions that are available, that we can take, the legal measures that we can take if they land up in a suit like that. And could you just go to the next one? So there is a website given by the Indian government, by the National Cybercrime Reporting Portal is there, which is called www.cybercrime.gov.in. The most important part of this particular website is that if you go to this particular link, and I would really appreciate if somebody could share it in the Q&A for the team, from the team for everyone, so that they have the link with them. You can actually just peruse through the site. You can actually file an FIR without going through to an actual station, and you can also sign. You can also sign up. You can also report a complaint without actually revealing your identity. Also, that is also a thing if you have been seriously violated and you are afraid that your identity might be out in the world, that this is what has happened, and you might further be victimized because of that. So this is a completely safe portal provided by the Government of India. The penal codes are available, the lawyers are out there, and not only just the virtual reporting of the cybercrime. Many cities in the country nowadays, in fact, most of the cities now in the country actually have those particular cells, those particular divisions where you can actually walk into a police station and actually file a complaint, not just for any physical bullying that is happening or any other situation, but you can actually file it up for a cyberbullying case that has happened with you or an identity theft has happened. So there are certain helpline numbers which are also available that can be accessed on Google and find out which are the those particular those particular police stations in your city, which you can guide to your students also that are out in the city. So knowing all these information is one thing, but actually taking it to the classroom is there. Sometimes children of a certain particular age, they do not know that what is happening. If they have just reshared a meme about a friend or a picture about a friend, which further got viral and went to other children or other people who were their friends of friends, they would think that probably this is not what something illegal, but they actually, like Irene had mentioned about that English team cricketer who was actually expelled from the team and was put on a probationary time for putting out tweets for some other time that had happened. So these kind of things we need to make our children aware of, and probably put a little bit of fear in them to make them understand that everything that they post online needs to be validated by their own self. Those ethics need to be built in. Those situations need to be where they would do the grandma test, as Irene calls it, the grandma test that needs to go through for everything that they would want to put online. And can we go to the next slide? Okay, so now I would like to thank you everyone for listening. I would like to call Irene back online, and thank you for listening again. Over to you.
Great, thank you so much, Harmeet. And now we're going to turn to our topic about information literacy. And to start off with, I have a question for you, which is, what is one of the biggest pandemics of our times? And if you said COVID, you would not be correct, because the real answer is fake news. We see it all around us, and we see the instances of fake news growing and growing as the years go by. And now with things like ability to make fake videos or alter videos, with the ability of ChatGPT to write something that sounds very official, like it's coming from a news source, it's really important that students in particular understand the difference between something that's real and something that's not, and what are some of the symbols or some of the points that we can give them to think about how they can think about if something is real or something is fake. Now, for starters, you may or may not know, because actually before I did this research, even I was not really clear on this, but there are different categories of fake news. And we're going to talk about all three of these right now. The first one is just a completely made up story. Now, sometimes it's made to look like actual news, but it's kind of, in a way, it's poking fun and it might be fake. But sometimes it's made to look like actual news and you can't tell the difference, or it's very difficult to tell the difference. The other one is half-truth, which is some mixture of truth with misrepresentation or lies. Maybe a total context isn't given. And so you're told that something happened or that somebody said something, but if you take the entire quote, then you find out the meaning of what they were saying was very different than what you were led to believe. And then, of course, there's clickbait. And these are those attention-grabbing headlines that we all see. The primary purpose of these is to drive ad revenue. So when we get into fake news, let's first watch a very interesting video about a pig who rescued a goat in the water.
The water. Goat in the water. Well, and there he is, the hero pig.
And there he is, our hero pig. Some goat was drowning in the water and a pig just jumped into the pond and helped save the goat, driving him to higher ground where he could be saved. So very compelling and very sweet story about a pig and a goat and their special friendship, which ended up saving the goat from drowning. Now let's watch this second video, which shows a little bit of the backstory of how the pig and the goat. Okay, so you can clearly see that a lot of time and effort was put into making this viral video, which, by the way, it did go viral. It exploded all over the internet. It had millions of views. And, you know, they spent a lot of time and effort to make something look real when actually it was a completely false story. You saw the divers, you saw the track that they were using. They brought a movie pig. So these are now this is a sweet and cute story, but these kinds of things can happen in a more nefarious way too. So one of the main things about these false stories, and I'm going to give you a checklist on how to check stories, is to do a little bit of research to find out if this is actually real. And if you go now on the internet and you Google this, pig rescues a goat, you can find a lot of information that says, in fact, this is not a real video. And of course, you can see that it was made by a TV station called Comedy Central. So you know right away that it probably wasn't real. So that's how a false story can be made and can manipulate people online into, you know, certain feelings or certain actions. Now, I'm going to move on to something called a half-truth. And I really love doing this half-truth because it's this photo here. And as you can see in the photo, there's the Prime Minister, Prime Minister Modi. He's exiting this car and he's meeting some officials who are standing there waiting to greet him and bring him in for some meetings. Now, the other thing that you can see is that on the top of this car, there is a sign that says taxi. And in fact, even in the car behind, there's a sign that says taxi on that car as well. Well, actually, this turns out to be a manipulated photo. Of course, the Prime Minister did arrive in a car and he did go into these meetings. This is in Italy. However, somebody put that taxi sign on top of the car to make it seem as though Italy could not provide adequate transportation and security for someone as important as the Prime Minister of a major country. So why would somebody want to publish a story like this? Maybe they want to disparage other countries. Maybe they want to show that through it all, the Prime Minister kept his composure and he really showed that, you know, he can represent India well. There could be many reasons why, but these kinds of false stories happen all the time. And it's important that we take a minute and figure out whether it's a true story or whether it's a false story. Now, before I get to that simple checklist, I want to take you to the third type of fake news, and that is clickbait. And I'm sure that all of you have seen these little small photos and headlines at the bottom. They seem to be at the bottom of every news site, every social media site these days. You'll see these clickbaits. And you can see that they have a very sensationalized headline or some kind of provocative image. For example, here's one with lots of money, just stacks and stacks of money. And it says the money-making secret that banks don't want you to know about. So that sounds wonderful. I'd love to know how to make more money. It plays on your curiosity. I wonder what those secrets are that banks don't want me to know about. Or, you know, this cabin crew takes secret pictures and you won't believe the results. Well, gosh, I just flew last week. What if the cabin crew is taking pictures of me? I better find out what's going on. So these kinds of clickbaits, they play on your curiosity. They play on your emotions, like this 12 images of cute puppies that will melt your heart. However, when you click these, oftentimes it leads you to some very nonsensical article or some very, you know, like it doesn't make any sense, the thing that you have clicked through to. What it does do, however, is it gives ad revenue to the people who have put these articles up. And a lot of people put articles up and drive traction to a different website to earn, you know, money for advertisers, and, you know, make sure that they can say, oh, my website is visited by, you know, 12 million people every day, so you should advertise with me. Oftentimes as I mentioned, the content is very questionable or not nearly as exciting as it seems like it should be when you read the headline. So how can you tell about a clickbait? Well, they often use things like epic, shocking, outrageous, you won't believe it. You can see this one about gummy bears. I can't believe it. You're going to learn the outrageous truth about gummy bears. Or they have a provocative photo like this. A man tries to hug a wild lion. and you won't believe what happens next. And it makes you wonder, did he get eaten? Did he become friends with the lion, right? So oftentimes these are the things: epic, outrageous. Also things that you wish were true, but just aren't true, like, you know, diet tips or tips how to make money. Challenges that that prove that you're very smart. Are you smarter than a 5th grader kind of a thing? Or of course the tried and true gossip about celebrities. So these are all forms of clickbait. What does it mean is that before you click on an article, before you share an article, before you believe an article, you should have this checklist in your mind. Where did this come from? Who made this? Who made this video? If I knew that the video was made by Comedy Central, I would know that right away. That's a clue that it might not be a real video. What is the source? What is the source of that photo? I can actually do a reverse image search and find the original photo to understand that maybe that photo has been adjusted. Where did it come from? And also you can go and you can Google that, right? You can, like I said about the pig, you can Google that. You can also Google Prime Minister Modi visits Italy and see, are many websites running this picture or only one website? Is it a valid website or is it a spoof website? Is it, you know, if it's something that's being run across many different news organizations, it's more likely to be true. The other question that you can ask yourself is, why are you sharing this? Because you can see the statistic here from Columbia University, 59% of the links that are shared on social media, they don't even click, they don't even read the article. They see this provocative headline or they see this provocative photo and they immediately blast it out. Oh my gosh, can you believe this headline? Did you know this was true? And so the thing is that you need to stop, you need to think, and you need to ask yourself, is it really important that I share this kind of information? Is it true? Or am I going to have to go back later into my WhatsApp group and say, oh gosh, sorry guys, that actually was a fake news, and please don't forward it and please don't believe it. So think about these kinds of things. The next time you receive a news article in your feed, before you react, make sure that you validate whether it's even something that you should react to. Okay, so that brings me, that brings me to the end of the lesson here. I want to talk about some of the activities that we have planned for Cybersecurity Month. First of all, let me just wrap up by saying digital citizenship is such a critical skill for students to understand how to behave online, to be cautious, to keep their personal information safe, to know when to believe something that's online or how to research that it might not be a true story. And by us as adults learning all of these skills, it helps us help our students, our children, even our parents or grandparents, to navigate the digital world with increased confidence, and to make sure that people are staying safe, increased safety. Okay, so that is why something like digital citizenship is really critical. So I ask you now to actively engage in our efforts to become digital nagriks. The first thing is, I mentioned at the beginning, there's a pledge on our Digital Nagrik website, iamdigitalnagrik.com. Please take a minute to go to this website, to explore it. A lot of resources are there, and to take the pledge. It will ask you 5 simple questions. Are you willing to stand up to cyberbullies? Are you willing to act with integrity online? And you can sign up, put your name, and you'll get a certificate, which you can proudly share in your classroom to, you know, model good behavior to your kids. as well as online, and share and, you know, ask others to become digital Nagriks as well. Now, October is Cybersecurity Month, and I'm going to talk about it on the next page. We have a toolkit for you where you can take cybersecurity topic into your classroom in celebration of Cybersecurity Month. And after you do so, you can record a quick video, and you could send us photos of your activities in school, and you may be featured on our website. And once you do that, you can report your activities on our Flaunch platform, launch.io, and get your certificate to claim your hours towards your professional development training. So let me first share with you what this cybersecurity toolkit is. Everybody who is on this call will be receiving this toolkit, and there's many different things in the toolkit. The first of all is 2 lessons. So the lesson that you saw on how to create a strong password that Harmeet took us through is one of the lessons. And the other lesson is the digital footprint, the one with the elephant track or the human track, and why digital footprint is so important. So these are the 2 lessons that are going to be available for Cybersecurity Month. We have a classroom presentation, so you don't need to do any creating of the material. It's already there for you. We also have a teacher companion guide, which will take you through page by page. How do you approach this in your class? What are the answers when you're asking questions to the students? What are the kinds of answers that you're looking for? And you can also view some examples from your peers. So we have lots of different photos of examples from other schools, how they have engaged cybersecurity in their schools, whether it's through poster making activities, whether it's through putting a skit, whether it's through putting up wall boards across the school. But I really urge you, especially in October, or any time that you can bring these 2 lessons into your classroom, we will be giving you the toolkit to do so. And finally is that digital Nagrik pledge that I mentioned to you. Now, the other thing I'd like to stress about these lessons is we have them available in both English and in Hindi. So whichever you prefer having the discussion with your students, these languages are both available. You can do one of the lessons or you can do both of the lessons, depending on how it fits into your classroom and your timeline. And you've already learned the topics today, so now it's time to go out and flaunt your knowledge about strong passwords, digital footprint, bring it to your peers, and definitely bring it to the students and the kids across your classroom and across your school to make sure that we can all be digital Nagriks. So check your email next week. I will be sending this toolkit to you, and I really hope to hear back from you about all of the ways in which you have been able to implement this into your classroom. So it's time for some feedback. Please either go to this link, bit.ly/DCFeedback2023, or you can simply fill the feedback form using the QR code and your phone. We love to hear from you. Actually, I constantly update this presentation based on the feedback that you guys give me on what you're able to understand and learn from the session. And I would love to hear from you how well you are able to understand the topic, how confident you feel in teaching the topic, and look out next week for the toolkit for Cybersecurity Month. And thank you so much for being here today. So that's it from me. Thanks to Harmeet for her help, and thanks to all of you for being here and learning about this very important topic. And I hope to hear from you next month about all the activities that you have been able to do in your school for Cybersecurity Month. Thank you. Bye-bye.